In late 2019, something invisible began to spread, first in silence, then in chaos. The world was told it came from a market, but just 300 meters away, a laboratory with international funding studied viruses capable of wiping out populations. Most people accepted the story. Some questioned it, and those who did were silenced. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is a timeline, an archive, a pattern. This is Echofile, and this is the origin of the virus that changed the world.
Growing concern about a new and rare pneumonia-like virus that has caused at least 2 deaths and has spread from China to other countries in Asia. And federal health officials don't want it to spread here, so they are screening passengers arriving from central China at 3 major airports. That type of screening hasn't happened since the Ebola outbreak.
Wuhan, China, December 2019. Patients begin arriving at hospitals with strange pneumonia. Rapidly deteriorating lungs. No known cause. One doctor, Ai Fen, notices a pattern in the X-rays. She alerts her colleagues. Her words spread through WeChat, then vanish. So does she. Within days, the city would lock down. Flights would leave for Europe, the US, and beyond. And the world would never be the same.
The hope is to prevent the mysterious coronavirus strain from spreading to the U.S.
This is a new disease, and information is really rapidly evolving, and so we're continuing to learn about it day by day.
It was chaos. The Chinese government locked down information before they locked down cities. I had colleagues in Asia texting me, "We're seeing clusters, and nobody's talking about it." Doctors were told to stay quiet. What does that tell you? That it was just a flu? Or something they couldn't explain without exposing something else?
Barely a kilometer away from the seafood market blamed for the outbreak, stood a building few outside China had heard of, the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Inside, scientists were collecting, modifying, and studying bat coronaviruses. Led by Dr. Shi Zhengli, known as Batwoman, the lab had secured international funding and classified access. But there were warnings. Reports of safety failures, whispers of containment breaches, and research that would later be called gain of function.
Li was an ophthalmologist at a hospital in the city who tried to sound the alarm about the virus's appearance, but was reprimanded by authorities for, quote, spreading rumors. His death from COVID-19 on February 7 last year led to an outpouring of public mourning and rare expressions of anger online. Wuhan residents like 24-year-old Li Pan remember the doctor's action.
He must have considered the impact would be huge, but he still raised the alarm to the public.
Another resident, Ji Penghui, said he heard about Li's warning in the early days and rushed to stock up on masks before the officials spoke openly about the virus. He added that the government made mistakes in the early stages, but believed it has handled the pandemic well since.
This wasn't a backyard lab. This was a BSL-4 facility. That's the highest level. But even at that level, protocols failed. In 2019, there were multiple documented safety incidents. Some involved handling live viruses without proper protection. In the virology community, it was an open secret. WIV was pushing boundaries, and their security was paper thin.
Enter EcoHealth Alliance, a non-profit working to prevent pandemics by studying viruses in animals. It received millions in funding from the National Institutes of Health in the US. which was funneled to Wuhan through grant agreements. Among the research, experiments that enhanced viral traits to better infect human cells, the very definition of gain of function. In 2018, US diplomats visited the lab. What they found worried them. Their cables warned of grave safety concerns. The warnings were ignored.
The team is preparing to present its findings. The origins of the virus have become highly politicized, and some Chinese diplomats and state media have thrown support behind theories that the virus potentially originated in another country.
They were experimenting with viral genomes, editing, mixing, enhancing transmissibility. The intention? Maybe to prepare vaccines. But in military terms, that's dual-use tech. It can be weaponized. And if oversight is missing, the question isn't if it escapes, it's when.
Dr. Li Wenliang was one of the first to raise the alarm. He sent a message to fellow doctors. 7 cases of SARS-like illness. Isolate immediately. He was arrested, forced to sign a confession for spreading rumors. Weeks later, he was dead, killed by the very virus he tried to warn the world about.
But also heavy censorship.
He was such a nice person, but still didn't pull through. And those left don't dare to speak out.
He showed a responsible attitude towards society. He's honest and faithful. So I think the entire community should reflect on this.
There are so many things we can't discuss or talk about. I'll just say Dr. Li made a huge contribution.
News of Dr. Li's death has rocked the nation. Misinformation spread by state media that he was still clinging to life in an apparent bid to quell online anger has again made many here question if they can believe what the government tells them. In the epicentre Hubei, new hospitals being built rapidly aren't enough. Authorities have set up massive evacuation-style centres as the number of cases, both confirmed and suspected, surpasses 50,000. Of most concern, fresh cases of young children being diagnosed, including a newborn baby.
There has been that constant increase in cases in Hubei province, but we haven't seen that same acceleration in provinces outside Hubei.
Across the nation, the streets are empty, people heeding government warnings to stay home, in the hope the new infections can be minimised outside of Hubei.
As the virus spread, a second virus emerged: silence. In February 2020, The Lancet published a letter signed by 27 scientists dismissing the lab leak theory as a conspiracy. The organizer, Peter Daszak, the same man funneling US funds into WIV, platforms like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube began censoring posts that mentioned the lab. Truth became a casualty.
To call it misinformation before an investigation even began? That's not science. That's control. Science asks questions. But when the people involved in funding the lab are also shaping the public message, that's a conflict. The world deserved the truth, and it was delayed.
The capital is being ravaged at a frightening speed. With every pyre that burns, India's self-belief is dying. Each funeral is a story of personal loss and national shame. Charanjeev Malhotra has been helping to cremate the dead for decades. Now, he barely ever stops working. I've never seen such a terrifying situation. I can't believe that we're in the capital of India. People aren't getting oxygen and they're dying like animals, he says. We don't even have enough resources to cremate them properly. Outside, Shivangi Mehra is on the phone organizing oxygen for the hospital she works in.
Nothing is being done. I don't know government is sleeping or what they are doing. I am totally disheartened in the situation which I am seeing. Government is a literal failure. A person cannot live here in Delhi. A person cannot even die peacefully in Delhi.
She's waiting to cremate her grandfather, who died, she says, because there wasn't enough oxygen. This small hospital in North Delhi is facing a daily struggle.
Ma'am, we have been spending sleepless nights since last 1 week. I mean, at times we feel like crying because we are not able to help patients properly. Every day is the same scenario. We are left only with 2 hours of oxygen, 3 hours of death, and we are only getting assurance from the system, no oxygen.
And so, families are being told to organize oxygen. At one medical shop, we found people with empty cylinders waiting to buy their own supply for loved ones who urgently need it. For many here, the government's promises of rushing in oxygen are coming too late. Families left asking why something so basic is unavailable.
Every crematorium we've been to, we've seen body after body being brought in. It's hard for anyone to keep count, but what workers have been telling me is that the real scale of deaths caused by COVID-19 in India is a lot higher than what official numbers reflect. And a lot of those who've died right now have done so because they couldn't get oxygen in time.
Jitendra Singh Shanti runs a group of volunteers here. Even young people are dying. It's a very bad situation. If it keeps getting worse, we'll have to burn bodies by the side of the road, he says. There is a sense of abandonment in this country. Citizens are stepping up to do what a government should.